You have to walk the talk. You have to be authentic as a leader. If you're not doing it, they see that.
It is entirely universal. There's other people who are going through this.
For me, a great leader needs to be able to marry three things: vision, systems, and people.
Welcome to Leadership Moments. If this is your first time, and if you are returning, thank you for your support.
This show is about leaders from all walks of life, leadership tips, and maybe even a little of what you wouldn't expect to help you in leadership.
We would appreciate it if you tell someone else about our podcast as we strive to support all leaders that want to just be better.
Let's get on with the show. So welcome to Leadership Moments, where we cut through the noise, we get honest about what's really happening, and we offer real-world tools to help leaders and entrepreneurs navigate today's complexity. I'm your host, Tracy Ann Palmer.
And I'm your host, Stacey Castor. And today we're unpacking something that's on every leader's mind right now, which is what the heck is actually going on in the market. Because let's face it, between the headlines, the hype, the hope, and the reality, it's getting murkier every day. Businesses are bracing, entrepreneurs are questioning their moves, and leadership is evolving faster than ever.
Yeah, it is. And, let's start by calling it what it is. 2025 has ushered in a high friction, high stakes environment. We're looking at a projected global slowdown. The UN Conference on Trade and Development just reported global growth is expected to slow to 2.3% this year, down from 2.8% in 2024. And then underlying drivers, it's not just the numbers. It's the policy-driven instability. It's the tariff escalations, which we've been reading about over the last few weeks, especially between US and China. We have the investor landscape that's more cautious than we've seen in years. And this affects every business leader, not just those in tech or finance. And this is not theoretical. It's having a real impact across industries, families, supply chains are tightening, inflation remains sticky, and capital is flowing much more selectively than we have ever seen before.
Exactly. And many leaders are quietly battling the downstream effect. Delays in funding cycles, longer sales processes, shifting customer priorities. We're seeing boardrooms pivot from scaling mode into defensive or conservative strategy mode. And here's the twist. While some see contraction, others are actually seeing a recalibration as well. So it's not just about slowing down, it's about realigning. This is a moment to pause, reassess, and rebuild with more intention.
Exactly. The most effective leaders are those that are going to be able to adapt with clarity. We've spoken a lot about this, Stacey. They're stepping out of old playbooks. They're asking sharper questions, and they're not panicking. They're planning. So let's take a look at the data.
Yeah. So let's start with unemployment. As of March 2025, the U.S. unemployment rate is 4.2%, up slightly from the previous quarter. But this number doesn't tell the full story because at the same time, in the same month, the U.S. added 228,000 new jobs, primarily in healthcare, finance, and logistics. So we're in a split market. Certain sectors are tightening while others are expanding.
But the competition is fierce. In 2024, job applications were 4 times higher than the number of open roles. For every job posted, the average number of applicants has surged. Meanwhile, companies announced over 761,000 job cuts in 2024, which, by the way, is a 5.5% increase from 2023, making it the worst layoff year since 2020, which was COVID, by the way. So the tech sector alone saw 95,000 plus cuts, with giants like Google and Intel and Cisco pulling back aggressively.
Yeah, and as we're talking about these numbers from 2023, 2024, and what we know of for 2025, we're trying to give you insight to what could be coming as we know it. So at the same time, we're seeing an unprecedented wave of retirements. Over 11,200 Americans turned 65 every single day. So a trend that will continue through 2027 with that number. It's amazing. So this shift is creating pressure in the labor pool, but it's also having openings for new leadership to emerge. The 18 to 34-year-olds is the age group that's struggling right now. So according to Into, younger professionals are twice as likely to report job hunting difficulty compared to their older peers. They're hitting a market where entry-level roles are scarce and expectations are high.
Yeah. And I really love that word you use, Stacey, that realigning, because it's essential. Because in times like these, the most powerful leaders are not the ones who push harder. They're actually the ones who pause, reevaluate, redesign the path forward with intention and purpose. So if you're listening and feeling the squeeze, you're not behind. You're really at the start of a new cycle. But what's going to be required is a leadership style that's clear-eyed, meaning, no blind spots, right? And deeply adaptive.
Right. And it's not that year of ego-driven decisions. This is the year for emotionally intelligent leadership, the ability to hold space for ambiguity while still moving your team forward. That's the leadership superpower for 2025.
That's right. Yeah. So now let's talk about venture capital space. The venture capital space, the optimism is definitely tempered. Okay. Despite a strong first quarter in 2025 with there was about 3,920 deals totaling about $91.5 billion, 71% of these investments were concentrated in AI startups.
Right. And this indicates a cautious approach from investors, focusing on sectors perceived as more resilient. Entrepreneurs should be aware of these trends when seeking funding.
Yeah, and just one thing on that, I've heard that the first question that these investors are getting asked is, what is your AI strategy? So that brings us to entrepreneurship. We're getting a lot of questions about whether the market is too crowded. In fact, we've had a lot of conversations about this. And is it, too unstable to really survive it, enter it? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, these numbers are really fascinating. So according to Babson's 2025 GEM report, 19% of U.S. adults are actively starting or managing a business. That's a historic high if you're not aware. So on one hand, it's thrilling. More creators, more innovators. But on the other hand, it's loud and noisy. There's a saturation of offers and funnels and six-figure that and seven-figure this. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. If I go on Instagram one more time to see the six-figure this and the seven-figure that, I don't know, man. I want to be these people. Okay. But, in all that noise, we're often missing really the depth, the values, the differentiation. So let's give it to them straight. Is the market flooded? Yes, it is. Is it possible to break through? Is it impossible to break through? Absolutely not. But only if you understand that the game has changed. You're no longer building a business, you're building trust, you're creating utility, you're offering emotional clarity in a world that's completely overwhelmed.
That's it, right? Your brand isn't just your logo or your voice. It's the experience people walk away with after interacting with you. And are they more empowered, more clear? Do they feel like they belong in your world? Because those things, belonging, clarity, trust, are the new currency.
That's right. And let's talk about fear of failure. That same GM report found nearly 49% of aspiring entrepreneurs cite fear of failure as their biggest barrier. And we get it. There's risk fatigue out there. Everyone wants a sure thing, right? But here's what I've learned and lived. Fear isn't the problem. Unprocessed fear is. When fear becomes strategy, you stall. But when fear becomes a signal to build systems, to build support, and have a flexible mindset, you move, even if it's imperfectly, because you're not educated.
Yeah, I really love that, the unprocessed fear and making sure that you process through it and how you react to it. So the thing I'll add to that is don't do it alone. The rise of entrepreneurship means the rise of loneliness. So surround yourself with mentors, peers, advisors who will challenge you, but also remind you who you are. And when the market starts testing your resolve, you'll have those people to lean on. It's so important. We talk about community all the time. So this is no surprise to our listeners that are listening to us all the time.
Yeah, but you know what? We've proven it. Stacey, in our world, we've proven it, right? Community, and this is what we're going to talk about here. Entrepreneurship used to be this badge of independence. But in 2025, entrepreneurship is about interdependence, okay? The solo founder fantasy is dead. And thank goodness, because collaboration, co-creation, and community is really where the magic is now.
Yeah. All right. So let's bring this back to leadership, because this isn't just about founders. So whether you're a CEO, a team lead, or a new manager, you are navigating uncharted territory. So if you're managing at a time when your team is overstimulated, underinspired, and uncertain, and this might even be including yourself. So your ability to hold space for both performance and humanity will determine your legacy.
Oh, I love that. That performance and humanity is so important right now. And I really believe that's the edge. It's no longer just about the metrics. The metrics will always be there. As leaders, we know that. But it's about meaning. The best leaders I work with today and you work with, Stacey, are the ones that are asking, how do I create psychological safety? How do I unlock discretionary effort from my people? Not through pressure, but through purpose. How do I lead change without losing the soul of the business and also the soul of my people, right?
Yeah, right. And it really starts with a few core shifts. So it's less control and more clarity. Set the vision, let your people find their way, and less perfection and more iteration. Done and evolving beats perfect and delayed. And less status signaling and more service. You're not there to be the smartest person in the room. You're there to be the clearest person in the room.
And if you're listening to this feeling overwhelmed by the state of things, we just want you to pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what is mine to lead right now? What is in my control? That's the focus and the question that will bring back to you. You don't need to solve the world's chaos. You just need to lead your part of it well.
Yeah, that's a very common question that I ask my coaching clients all the time is what's in your control? So asking yourself that really brings the power back to you of what you can do about what's the outside things that are not in your control. So I love that, Tracy Ann. So whether you're launching a business, managing one, or transforming your leadership from the inside out, we want you to know this. You're not behind, you're not alone, and you're not crazy for feeling like everything is shifting, because it is, but shift creates space and space creates possibility. So just remember that.
So leaving all of you with a positive inspirational feeling, because you all know that's my thing. So here's to the leaders, the dreamers, the builders, the quiet warriors, as probably all of you, behind closed doors, doing the hard work of evolving while the world is spinning so fast. We see you, we're with you, and we're going to keep having the conversations here that really matter. So thanks for spending the time with us on Leadership Moments, and please continue to bring those conversations to us as well.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe at leadershipmomentspodcast.com and give us your feedback so we talk about what really matters to you.
If you enjoyed the show, please go to leadershipmomentspodcast.com to subscribe to the podcast or on your favorite player, as well as follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn.
You can also send us a message on what you like and don't like, or what guest you want us to have on the show.
So until next time,
this is Stacey Castor, and what doesn't challenge you won't change you.
And I'm Tracy Ann Palmer. Be the change you wish to see in the world.